Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
On this very special night, we have a very special guest. We have traveling monk, author, and spiritual teacher, Devamrita Swami, who speaks at hundreds of universities, hundreds of yoga studios, hundreds of places like here at Mantra House, on various subjects within the essence of how to defeat stress, anxiety, and depression through mantra meditation without the need of corporate medication. So we're actually very lucky that he's here. Usually he's traveling the world. You can find him in New Zealand, Australia, New York City, sometimes even Antarctica. He could actually be in Russia right now speaking on how to defeat stress from all the World Cup anxiety. He's chosen to be here in Los Angeles at our humble little spot, Mantra House. So a round of applause for Devamrita Swami.
Well, I haven't been to Antarctica. It's the only continent that I have not been to. But as many of you know, I've been traveling the globe for over 4 decades, and I have been up and down every habitable continent. When you think about stress and anxiety and how to solve that, we like to take you deeper, rather than just superficial, surface solutions to stress and anxiety. Now most of you are under 40. And in fact, quite a few of you are in the millennial age group, 18 to 35 or so. Did you know that you are crowned as the most stressed out generation ever in the USA? The future, you're not sure of. Everything looks so precarious, balanced on the edge. Will you have a material life that's better than what your parents had? So many economic forces are at work beyond your control. So many environmental forces are at work beyond your control. You're living in the USA, which is the most heavily weaponized nation in the world's history. Do you know that? 4% Americans are of the world's population, yet you account for almost 40% of the world's military spending. That's more than the first 7 nations combined, including Russia and China. So, according to the yoga texts, that kind of misappropriation of human energy causes huge anxiety. The anxiety is nature's response to our missing the real mission of human life. So in this way, the yoga texts teach us how to see anxiety in a holistic way. There's something wrong with our basic thrust in life, our basic impetus. We've got the wrong mission. That's good news. It's not just bad news. Because the good news is you can transform your human potential so that it's actually realized. But first you have to know, what is the purpose of human life? Is it simply economic expansion? You know, economic activity goes on in any species of life. If you know anything about ant colonies or beehives, they're much more organized in a much more efficient way than human society. So if you're simply concerned with how to efficiently make economic activity, the yoga texts explain that. If we think that, we've missed the point of human life. Those of you who are metaphysically orientated may have heard of a text called Vedanta Sutra, in which the conclusions of all the Vedic yoga knowledge are presented in concise formulas which are actually beyond the intelligence of almost all human beings today. Therefore, the Vedas provide Bhagavad Gita to make clear what Vedanta Sutra is presenting. So the first verse in Vedanta Sutra says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now that you have successfully attained a human body, you should know what your mission is. Human body means the mission is self-realization, enlightenment. Understand what is the real self, what is the supreme self, and the relationship between the two. So now that you have a human body, that's a very important point, you must make inquiry into the ultimate reality, the ultimate pleasure. I wonder how many of you take your human body in that way. Do you have a human body by chance? Or what's the big deal about being a human? And many of you will bring other humans into the world at some point in your life, right? What's the point of that if we don't know what is the point of our being a human being? So we have a lot of heavy lifting to do, it seems. But the lifting is actually not so heavy if we have the right information. So in other words, a lot of stress and strain in our life is due to being misinformed. And that's quite amazing, that in the information age, we are misinformed. We're drowning in all kinds of irrelevant information. So we need knowledge that is spot on, that hits the nail on the head. I have this human body, what am I supposed to do? So what do all the social influences tell you? Human body, this body, whatever, just enjoy your senses. Have a good time. Don't worry about the temporaries. In fact, if you think about how it's all temporary, that spoils your fun. I've noticed many books on happiness instruct people that don't think when you're having a good time, don't think it's going to end, even though it is going to end, because that will bring you down. Instead, do something that's called savoring. When you're doing something and you think you feel good doing and you're enjoying, just step outside that moment and just relish it. And that makes, supposedly, that makes the enjoyment stronger, even though it's not going to last. You shouldn't think it's not going to last, and you should try to, while you're having it, try to just step out of it, take a look at it. Yeah, this is really good. Wow. I can't believe this is, wow, yes. And that's supposed to deepen the impact and make your momentary enjoyment more relishable. What do you think? Yeah, some are nodding their head. Yeah, that's... What do you think the yogis think about that? They think it's like trying to wring water out of a dry towel. Just squeeze it, just wring it, just wring it. A drop may come out. But I know that sounds too strong, right? come on, Swami. I mean, there's a little bit of pleasure and good stuff and material gratification. All right, we'll concede, we'll admit. Yeah, there's a little bit there. But is it enough to make all the hard work and struggle and setbacks worthwhile? That's the question you have to ask. You're very hungry, and someone puts a tiny bit of food on your tongue. You've got food, but will it satisfy you? No. So the amount of pleasure that material existence offers is so tiny, even though it's there, it's so tiny that the yoga texts consider it not worth talking about. But we take the opposite perspective because we've been conditioned, brainwashed, and trained in a certain way. Yeah, that was a big deal. Remember last weekend for a few moments, wow. So please dare to uplift the conceptions of what happiness is. I'm against savoring, that technique. It's self-deluding. Why not just face reality for what it is? This is temporary pleasure. It's not going to satisfy me. If I'm smart, I'll be on the lookout for something better. But most people don't have time to think about all that. You've got to study, you've got to work, you've got to scramble, you've got to struggle. And then naturally, it seems naturally, in your few spare moments, you want to just let off some steam, right? Just let the good times roll and just forget your miseries, forget your struggles. Have some downtime, some free time. Because you know, in a day or two, the grind starts again, right? But is this really human life? That's the question. That Bhagavad Gita and its advanced text, Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the question they're asking. So let's talk about money. The two things I know that no one in this room is interested in. Happiness and money. Right? Not interested. Nope. We like to live in denial about money, right? Yeah. Oh, I never think about it. Really, I mean, truly, I never think about it. You live in an extraordinarily monetized society. It's the omnipresent reality. Just like nuclear weapons. Whether you say you think about nuclear weapons or not, there's 16,000 of them in the world. And they make an impact, whether they're launched or not. They make an impact. Similarly, money. You may live in denial, but money takes up so much focus in your life. So you find three types of persons. Those who think about money all the time and admit it. Those who are in denial. Nah, I never think about it. It's not that important to me. They pretend to. And those who think about it all the time, even though they have more money than they need. In other words, they're still prisoners of money, even though they have so much. One class thinks about it all the time because they don't have enough. The other class has enough, and they still think about it all the time. And then there are those in denial. I never think about it. Really, I mean, I never think about it. And of course, it's always in the back of the mind. So how does the Bhakti Yoga system handle this money trick? I mean, you all know, you're living in LA, you're not going to be homeless, right? That means you've got to scramble and get your share. And a little bit more for security, right? Doesn't help to get your share. It's not bad to get your share and then get a little bit more for buffer. Yet you're spiritually interested. That's why you're here. Where's my life going? What's the point of my life? So you have to deal with the money issue. So let's focus on it in this way, by recognizing that money is energy. How you deal with that flow of energy shapes your life, especially in this day and age. So if you want to see where your life is going, do two things. Follow your passions. That means track your passions. It's kind of cool these days to be passionate about something, right? Be passionate about anything. Food, music, whatever, sensuality. Just be passionate about something. Then people think, oh, your life is okay. Right? So, track your passions. See where they'll take you. Because that's where your energy is going into. The other thing is, track the flow of money in your life and what it's doing to your life. Whether you make a lot of money or a little money, still track its flow. And you'll see a lot of what your life is tied up with. And even relationships are affected by money, right? Not just passion, but money. You all know, I've said it before, many of you have heard. A mantra my mother taught me when I was 7 years old. Never had a chance to use her mantra though, because I became a monk. But she taught me. She said, son, always remember, romance without finance is a nuisance. Takes you a while to recognize that reality, right? At first you think it's just pure romance, right? Many of you had that experience. But then, maybe as a teenager you were like that, just romance. But as you got into your 20s, you realize that other things are tied up with the romance. So she taught me that. Romance stuff, finance is a nuisance. You're living in this world, you have a material body. Simply pure passion won't endure. Some people are very upfront about that. Maybe some of you have heard the expression, marry the money, love comes later. What do you think? No, I would never do that. Friends are shaking their head. But come on, you know, you have to be expedient and practical. I think most of you would say, well, we want the romance and the finance. Well, that depends on your karma. You're not going to get more than what your karma allows. This is a difficult subject for Westerners to grasp because they're so trained to think that it's up to the individual striving. You determine your economic worth. You determine your happiness. It's all up to you. You got problems in life? Change your mindset. Pull yourself up. Remember the old political example? Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. How can I pull myself up by my own bootstraps when my shoes are glued by someone to the ground. So, how much opportunity do you have in life? For relationship success, for financial success. Everyone wants that. But you see, outcomes are different. Even in the same family, even amongst twins and triplets, outcomes are different. Because the karma is different. Some persons have what is loosely called good money karma. Just whatever they do, money comes. You know persons like that? Other persons have bad money karma. They try so many businesses, so many thises and that's, multi-level marketing, whatever. Just the money doesn't come. Some persons are very wealthy and they have bad relationship karma. And some persons are very poor, dirt poor, and they have good relationship karma. You see that in India all the time when I go. I've seen happy couples living on a mat on the street, cooking their meals by the side of the road. At night, just covering themselves with a blanket, going to sleep on the side of the street. Mother, father, a child. And they look much more peaceful and happy than a billionaire person in the West. So they got horrible money karma, but they've got good relationship karma. And there are all kinds of permutations and combinations. As I'm sure many of you can see, when you look through the lens of yoga knowledge, you see. Basically, good karma means birth in a prosperous family, materially prosperous. Easy access to wealth, very good education, and personal beauty. And there are all kinds of combinations of that. Someone could have good wealth karma and be very miserable. Someone could be very beautiful, but have extraordinary health problems. So the desire for happiness, the desire for prosperity is there in everyone. But do you have the karma to pay for those desires? Just like, let's take a car. Basically, everyone needs a car in LA. Everyone wants a car, but can everyone afford a Ferrari or a Mercedes or a Bentley? No. You get the car that you can afford, or that your parents can afford. Your desires are one thing, but your buying power is another thing. So karma is like that. How to recognize what your money karma is? It's very difficult unless you have a spiritual perspective to your life. How do you know when you're striving too much for money? Who's to say? In other words, I have seen in my travels around the world extraordinarily rich persons who are not materialists, complete spiritualists. And I have seen poor persons who are completely materialistic. In other words, being spiritual or material, is it measured by your income level and your net worth? No. What's the real standard for judging that? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that you judge a materialist by whether he or she thinks, I am the body and mind. And this conviction is shown in their pursuit of material happiness. In other words, you can be a very rich materialist or a very poor materialist. You can be a very rich spiritualist or a very poor spiritualist. Everything depends on your conception of the self, which will affect your conception of what is happiness and well-being. So I often explain, the common conception of a materialist is what? When you think of someone who's a materialist, it generally means what? Anyone who has more than you, they are the materialist. Right? You have just what you need and could use a bit more, right? But the others, they are the materialists. That's their usual standard. That's our definition. But no, Krishna explains that anyone who thinks they are the body and strives for bodily happiness is a materialist. Never mind what economic class you are. So Krishna's definition is the most fair, it's the most equitable. How to tell when you're trying too much for money? I mean, this is Los Angeles. Unless you plan on becoming a monk. Anyone wants to sign up for that, just let me know. But you know, this is LA, you gotta have some bucks. Does the financial quest rule your life? Or does your life rule the financial quest? It's very important. How can you judge whether you're struggling and straining too much for money? Whether money is taking too much of a spotlight role in your life? How do you judge that? What's your reference point, in other words? Without a reference point, how do you analyze? This is too much. I've got too much focus on money. How do you judge? Compared to what? All you can do is look around. What's everyone else doing? He's working harder. She's working harder. I guess I'm not so bad. Or I should be working harder like the others. It's all about social comparison. As any social psychologist can explain to you, social comparison plays such an important role, especially in a consumer society. You're always looking around to see what others have, and advertisers play on your insecurities. Look at everyone else. Look what they have. They're feeling satisfied. They're feeling happy. What about you? So consciously or subconsciously, you get manipulated like that. Because you see yourself in reference to others. As much as you might think you're very individualistic, very kind of cool in your own way. But your self-conception is built so much on what others are doing, buying, so forth. I give an example. Very famous experiment in social psychology. If you're making $50,000 a year, and everyone around you, all your associates, your peer group, is making $50,000 a year. Okay, that's one level of happiness. But let's say your income doubles to $100,000 a year. That means your purchasing power has doubled. Would your happiness automatically double? In a situation in which your peers are making $150,000 a year? No. Even though your own personal net worth has doubled because others around you are making more, your happiness doesn't increase. Because you're looking at yourself in relation to others. This is how foolish and fickle our self-conception is. Even though your purchasing power is doubled because others around you make more, you don't feel an increase in happiness. In fact, you feel more anxiety. Oh my God, I'm only making $100,000. They're making $150,000. But before you were just making 50, now you're making 100. Isn't that great? So, psychological tests have demonstrated that for every dollar increase in your income, your expectations go up 44 cents. So no matter how much your income increases, your satisfaction doesn't jump because your expectations climb. It's a real trap, isn't it? What are you going to do? So therefore, we need to get on top of our money urges. So again, the ultimate question, how do you know when you're too much into the money trip? You can't judge materially. Simple living means different things to different people, right? For some people, simple living means only one big flat screen TV in the house. It's simple living. Everyone's standard is different. We like to tell people that they should live simply and save time and energy for their spiritual development. But everyone has a different conception of what it means to live simply. The way you can truly judge is by how all aspects of your life affect your spiritual development. Whether you're a millionaire, billionaire, or low income, if your endeavors for economic gain crowd out your possibilities for spiritual expansion, then you know you're in the red zone, whether you're rich or poor. Now you might say, well, persons who are very poor have no choice. And persons who are very wealthy have a choice. Now everyone is caught up in this grind. And everyone has to make some priority choices. Once you choose to focus on your bhakti development, amazing things happen. Once you prioritize correctly, whether you're rich or poor. But from the material point of view, it seems like I'm poor, I've got no time to allow for spiritual development, for bhakti yoga. But you know, wealthy people say the same thing. Do you know that? I've got so many assets to look after. I've got so many headaches, you know. I've got to worry about how much my third wife's going to get when she divorces me. Really? This is major. I know one wealthy guy who, he's in his 60s and he's still playing the game. He marries a different young girl every 2 years. And he knows that they're just marrying him for the money. So he keeps an accountant who analyzes the whole thing. Okay, she's going to divorce you in 2 years. This is how much it's going to cost. So he thinks he's got it all figured out. Well, I got 2 years with the young girl. Yeah, 2 years where she pretends she loves me. It's all right. Yeah. Then she's going to divorce me and expect a share of my wealth. Okay, I have the accountant figured it. He'll figure it all out, how much I'll lose. But you know, I gained 2 years of sensuality. You know, it's all business. What do you want from your life? Do you want money to be the driving force behind your life? How do you tame that money monster? How do you judge when you're getting too carried away with financial concerns? The bottom line is, when your efforts for wealth, for prosperity, crowd out your opportunities for spiritual development. Crowd out your energies, your exertion for spiritual development. That's the only way to judge. Not by whether you're a billionaire or poverty-stricken, but what is the driving focus of your life? If you're very shrewd, you recognize karma. No matter how hard I try, I'm not getting the big financial breakthroughs. So why don't I put attention on my spiritual life? Because from the karmic point of view, I'm going to get whatever prosperity I'm due. Whether it comes this way or that way, I'll get my karmic desserts. So let me focus on my spiritual life while doing the necessary to live simply in this world. It's hard for Westerners to understand because you're told it's all up to your endeavor. Just like, yes, my mother raised her children like that. She told you, if you want to be successful in life, son, you've got to be three things. You've got to be a scholar, you've got to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be a Christian. All those three things together make for success. So I remember when I was 8 years old, at family gatherings, my mother would have my uncles, her brothers, they would come to me. You're 8 years old now. What do you think you want to be? I didn't know what to say, so I had seen pictures of petroleum engineers wearing these hard hats. I thought that was pretty cool. So I would just say, I think I'll be a petroleum engineer. Immediately my mother would race to the children's bookshop and come back with a book for a child, Your Future as a Petroleum Engineer. And then, when I was 9 years old, I started reading the New York Times, and I would read the job sections. And I'd read about investment analysts, bankers. So I said, well, that sounds pretty good. Portfolio manager. So next time I was asked, what do you want to be? Have you decided yet? Still want to be a petroleum engineer? So I was 9 years old. I said, well, I think I'll be an investment portfolio analyst. Immediately mother would race to the bookshop. I'd come back with another book, Your Future as investment banker. So you might say that's quite intense, isn't it? She'll say, well, look at the material success of my children. It shows I did the right thing. That was Joe Jackson, the father of the Jacksons. That was his defense before he died. He died a few days ago. Yeah. There was accusations that he basically beat his kids. He just pushed them over the edge when they were so small to be perfect musicians. His defense was, no, I was just getting them out of poverty. I was just doing what I had to do. My parents raised me in this way. When Michael Jackson, as a little boy, would miss a note, his father would take out the strap and beat him. So his defense was, what do you want to, look at the success they did. That's the point, the success. Never mind the psychological damage. That's just the cost of doing business. Of course, certainly my mother was not extreme like that. So, how do you recognize your money karma? You can only judge it by what is your spiritual focus. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asks you, whatever you do, do as an offering for Krishna. Understand that energy has a source. Use the energy to serve the ultimate source. And then your activities are yoga. They're in connection. But disconnected activities just pile up karma. You're already suffering from karma. Your allotment of happiness and distress is predetermined. Now, that's hard for Western people to understand. Let's say you're in a relationship. Let's say Joe is in a relationship with Jane. And Joe thinks, like a typical LA guy, I don't know, the fire's just not there anymore. Right? Yeah, I mean, you know, the thrill, it's gone away. I mean, it lasted longer than I expected with her, but still, it's gone now. If I switch to Joan, that looks like a new wonderland of pleasure. So, what do you tell Jane? You know, we've had some good times. I mean, I really appreciate some of the things you've done. Or you try the humble approach. How many of you have tried the humble approach? Look, honestly, the problem's with me. Yeah? Does that happen? Some of you have done that? Some of you have had that done to you? Really, I know it's me. I know I have the problem. You're just too good. As you back out the door. It's me. I know. It's all. I've got problems. I've got issues I need to work out. I mean, you've been good. I mean, really. Actually, you're just too good for me. Yes. Any of you tried that? Everyone's looking down at the floor. Chain of action, reaction. So the intelligent person wants to use this human life, how to get out of this entangling network. It's like the fly seeing a piece of toast covered with honey, and the fly lands on the honey-covered toast, and what happens? Huh? What happens?
Excited to find out.
Huh?
Not sure.
The fly thinks, wow, honey, this is going to be great. The fly lands on the honey-covered toast, and it gets stuck. And what happens, the more the fly struggles, the more stuck it is. That's our situation in material existence. But because we think, I'm tasting some honey, I don't mind the struggle. Right?
That's what material is to the bee at that moment.
To be
us.
Mm-hmm.
The honey to the bee stuck in the... At the moment is us experiencing the material world.
Us experiencing some momentary delight.
Material delight.
Yes. Never mind that I'm entangled. It takes knowledge and skill not to be caught in that. But that knowledge and skill is available to you as a human being. Very good questions today. Anything else? Where? Oh, yes.
When did you decide to become a monk?
When did?
Like, what was the moment you were sitting there, you're like, I want to be a monk?
You want my life story, huh? Well, I gotta be honest. I remember it's my last month at university. I was writing my final paper. It was in New Haven, Connecticut, at Yale University. And my roommate and I wanted some relief. He was studying for his physics final, and I was writing a paper. And so we turned on the television to get some relief. But we would not watch television in the ordinary way. I mean, we were Yale students. We had to distinguish ourselves from the masses. So we would watch television with the volume turned all the way down and then speculate on what was happening. We showed our superiority. So all of a sudden on the TV screen, I saw these strangely dressed persons. Both ladies and men dressed very strangely. And I remember I told my roommate, "Who are these aliens? I can't figure this out. We got to turn up the volume." So we started listening to their explanations. They were all shining and beaming, I remember that. And so they were explaining their lifestyle, and they were explaining getting up early in the morning, and then the rules they follow. They didn't do this, didn't do that, didn't do that. I remember turning to my roommate and saying, "These people are fools. They have missed the goal of life." They kept talking about Ananda. They kept using that word over and over again. Ananda, bliss, Ananda, bliss. I turned to my roommate and said, because I learned the word very quickly, "They talk about Ananda. We'll invite them to one of our parties. We'll show them what Ananda is." 9 months later, I was a monk. What happened? A month after that television show, that was April of 72. A month later, I started reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I was reading it like 4 hours a day for 6 months straight before I even come to a gathering like this. So that's what changed me. I wanted two things in life, the best knowledge and the best pleasure. And I had enough sense, amidst my delusion, to understand the two are connected. The best knowledge and the best pleasure are connected. What do you think?
I love it.
Did I do the right thing? And what about you?
What about me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've been thinking about it.
Good. That's how it all starts. Of course, I always have to point out, I always have to give a disclaimer. Most Bhakti Yoga practitioners, 95% of them are family persons. Because most persons, they want to be in a family. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita was a family man. But you recognize very few people will go that far with their academic studies. But you need specialists. So I decided to be a specialist in genuine prosperity, well-being, and happiness. And in that way, I could make the whole world my family. If I had my own biological family, I couldn't travel the way I do to so many dangerous places. So it's possible to be advanced in bhakti as a monk, and it's possible to do it as a family person. So please understand that. It's just you need some traveling specialist that more suited my psychophysical nature. Others, and for most persons, it suits their psychological and physical nature to be a family person. There's scope and room for both in bhakti, okay? That's why, and I'll be speaking more about this at Long Beach on Saturday, at our center at Long Beach. I'll be speaking about partnering in enlightenment. Most persons go that route. You like that, huh?
Yeah.
Sure. Anything else? All right, last question. Yes.
So you're saying that when you give what you do to Shiva, does that mean that opportunities rearrange yourself and just create all these opportunities for yourself? And because you're tapping into your dimensions of your mind?
We're talking about Bhagavad Gita, the top of the yoga ladder, beyond even Shiva. Krishna explains that when you do everything as an offering to Krishna, your life is truly holistic because you, the part, are connected to the complete whole. The example commonly given, water the tree at the root, all the branches blossom. So if you truly want to be holistic, you have to find out knowledge of the complete whole.
So
Just like this finger is part of the body. Its efficiency is judged in relation to how it acts as part of the whole body. So this is basic self-realization. You are part of Krishna. Why struggle with the illusory energy, which does belong to Krishna, but it's not where you should be? Wake up and serve Krishna's spiritual energy. And that's what Kirtan is all about. Wake up and serve Krishna's spiritual energy. So let's have some Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thank you very much.